So one of our viewers sent us this video recently, and oh my god, I see why. This is just weird looking octopus, and it's just sit in such a strange way, and I had to do a deep dive here and find the original, and here it is, you guys. And this kind of thing, just so you know, around an armpit like this, we can't put a stencil over it like that. We might be able to stencil it in pieces, but in stuff like this, a lot of artists would choose to freehand it. And you can tell this artist absolutely struggled, especially with so many little suction cups and everything. You also struggle with counting the exact amount of arms an octopus is supposed to have, but I'll digress there. You know, I don't want to judge an artist just based on one tattoo alone, which is why I don't usually respond to a lot of these, because sometimes an artist just struggles with one type of art but not another. And so in this case, I had to give him the benefit of the doubt. So stick around, we're going to deep dive on this one. This episode, we are heading out to the Netherlands. That is where we found our boy, right outside of Rotterdam, right? Just a couple miles to the east of Rotterdam in the Netherlands there. They got some amazing artists out there as well, but this particular one, I was not so much a fan of. Now, if you want to check him out for yourself, I_want_ink. That is the Instagram profile for Ivan Ririasa. He actually is the owner of All For You Tattoo. I was able to find out that he has been tattooing for at least 7 years. His studio has been open for a number of years now as well. So I'm going to let you guys judge it for yourself, but always do your own research, of course. What do I know? I'm just a veteran. I don't, you know, you can always judge it for yourself. But let me show you what I found. Wow, we are going to start with this one because, my God, this was one of his more recent posts, and this was kind of shocking to me, you guys. This honestly has all the telltale signs of an apprentice. I've seen many times throughout my career when apprentices are learning and they're still trying to figure out tattooing, this is what it looks like. You get so much inconsistent line work, inconsistent depth on the line work. Like you can see blowout up here, 100%. All that little gray is blowout. You can see the patchiness of the black fill-in. Yeah, again, this just looks like somebody who is very much struggling to figure out how to get their needles to do what they want them to do. And especially with that solid black fill-in. This is a major tell, you guys, if you want to know if an artist really has their technique down and you're zooming in on their black work and you're seeing that they cannot get their black up to the line like this, and then how patchy this looks. Look at this. It goes from really dark black in areas to a little lighter gray in areas. This is really fundamentally poorly done work. And it's really shocking to see that an artist of this caliber who's still struggling with the fundamentals like this, that they would go and open a studio. That's just mind-blowing to me. Now, on his website, he says he's good at fine line and he's good at realism stuff. So I'm going to show you some of his realism stuff, starting with this one, because I couldn't even tell if this was meant to be realism. This to me looks like it was meant to be abstract, right? I mean, look, like the fingers are just so out of whack, sort of weird bulge coming out of the palm of her hand. And then this gap here between these two fingers, that is a big enough gap to fit a sixth finger. That is not an artist who specializes in realism, if you ask me, because realism is much more precise than that, or at least it's intended to be. Now, I did see a couple of puppy portraits in his portfolio, and I'm going to zoom in on this one. This is the original photo. Look at this nose. Let's just focus only on the nose. Now, if you're a tattoo artist, that is mostly black with just a little bit of glare, a little bit of differentiation between the nostril and the top of the nose, right? Not a lot. But if I go over to his nose, oh boy, you can see he just kind of clearly outlined it and did some black nostrils. Now, any realism artist is going to tell you that this is kind of the beginning stages of an artist that's wanting to do realism. They kind of do a generally close representation as opposed to an exact shade for shade copy. And so that is not an artist that I would recommend for it. If you are looking for an artist, you want to look for somebody who copies it shade for shade. Now, here's another example, and I'm going to focus just on the eye here for a second. If you guys just look at the eye of that puppy, now let's go back to the reference. Look at that. Night and day difference, because this one has a really harsh glare right there with the solid black on the top. And then if I go back here, you see like he did the solid black, he did the medium gray, but there's absolutely no glare. And when you're coming to realism, you got to copy those things exactly. You're not just trying to do a similar version, you're trying to do the exact version of it. And this has really the feel of just sort of a random kind of, I don't know. I'm not really appreciative of this because I can tell looking at the rest of his portfolio that he didn't intentionally do this abstract style. I think he does this abstract kind of off style of art because it's easier than to do it realistically. And I saw a lot of different versions of realism in his portfolio. Here's another one, and it just looks night and day different from how he did the last one. This one looks like he shaded it with an actual liner, like he's doing like stipple shading or something. And then again, like we usually find, you can see he did not shave this client's hair very properly. This is becoming the #1 thing that we find in low-quality tattoo artist portfolios is just the hair. They do not prep the skin well or shave the client's hair. So guys, you gotta look out for that because it is just the #1 thing that we see all the time in artists that I would not recommend. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about is Coverups. That's something else that he had on his website. And so somebody wanted to get rid of this William tattoo because, you know, fuck William, right? And then this is what he did. Good God, what a jumbled mess. Not to mention this, he did not talk the client out of getting rid of names. They just put a new name on top. You're covering up a name and you want to put a new name? Come on, learn your lesson, guy. But this cover up, I placed it like this so you guys can see what I'm talking about. I'll go back. This is exactly, you see like the curl of the M. This is exactly where it's sitting. There's that curl of the M. So he used this weird lower area with these leaves to cover it up, as opposed to like putting it more centrally and shading the rows a little bit better. Now I understand he wanted to use solid black, but if you remember from those previous ones I showed you, he's not that great at solid black, which is why you can see the lettering right through those leaves. And it's just really poor quality stuff from an owner of a studio that's been tattooing for over 7 years. So I think this one's pretty obvious. I want Ririasa. We're going on the hack list. Let me know what you guys think of his artwork down in the comments below. Stick around if you want to see a little bit more of his work, but I'm going to be honest, it doesn't get much better. But in part number 2 of this episode out in the Netherlands, we're going to find you an amazing artist that we can recommend. So stick around for that. All right, bye-bye.